But that in the moment when you can say, shall I do this? Shall I take a car on electricity or on, then I believe it's better to do. So it's in small things. The values in life are always in small things.
Hello, everybody. This is Mario. Welcome to another episode of Design Interview 10 Questions, where we interview designers from all around the world to make people feel the design support, especially in this moment. Today, we talk with a giant icon of design. Well, you probably already seen him on my left side. He's Karel Martens. Well, I don't think it's needed, but Karel is a Dutch graphic designer. He won too many awards that is almost impossible to list them all. He's famous especially for his experimentation with printing process, graphic forms, using of colors, construction of typographic meaning over the past half century. He taught in different universities around the world, and he also found one, which is the Werkplaats Typografie in 1997. That is in Haarlem, in the Netherlands. Well, I guess you all know his books. I have a couple here with me. These two from Karel. So he also is the author of different books. So I think it's useless to keep going, because if you are a designer or not, you should anyway know Karel. Well, welcome, Karel. Thank you to be here today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me in your series. But you already have done the job, so you told everything already. So we are finished.
Yeah, well, as always, remember to the interviewees, you're totally free to answer whatever you want. So just feel free. And if you don't mind, I would start with the first question.
Yeah.
So, what made you become a designer?
That was more the fact that I was not able to. It has to do with my in that time my education. I had a very bad relation with schools, so I was, let's say, interested to study mathematics, but I could not finish the high school. So then and then my sister was visiting an art school, and then she said, and I did already, I like drawings and that kind of things and making things, and then she said, you also have to come to the art school in Arnhem. And from that, for the first time, for me, a school was a relief. So it was really inspiring. But I'm dyslexic, so it's kind of, in high school it was always suffering with language and with the speed and with all kinds of things. And that time, now it's quite common, but in that time it was not so common. Although there was no knowledge about that phenomenon.
So you started with art, basically, and you develop until graphic design. So
yeah, in that time, graphic design didn't exist. So it was, let's say, an art school, but there was one department named publicity and illustration. And that was only, let's say, we got classes from all the teachers from all the departments, but one day a week we have to draw dinky toys. So that was, let's say, the official part of the. But I was very lucky. I had very, very nice teachers. So it's quite what I said before. For me, it was a very nice experience to be in art school.
So, but changing from, let's say, starting with art and then arriving at design. What is the meaning?
No, it was already, let's say, what I say. It was publicity, but you have to make a living, and as an artist, to make a living, especially when you are young, it's very hard, and especially in that time. But I was lucky. I came in contact with a publisher in the Netherlands, and in the curriculum of the school was not typography was not an item. So it was in that time I don't realize the difference between Times Roman and Helvetica, for example. So, but then I went to I got an invitation from a lady. She married a publisher. She was a lawyer, but she married a publisher. And then she liked to be also a publisher. And then she thought the best way to get knowledge about that is to create a kind of series of lectures. And then she invites, and there was a small announcement in the school for people who are interested, you could join the lectures. So that, let's say, also visiting printers, binders, paper manufacturers, and all kind of people are. And she was really curious about what means bookmaking, what means bookmaking. So we discovered it together. So, and after that, I have to go to military service in the time. And then she invites me after that for 1 day a week to come to her place. And then she gives me, and from her I got the education in, let's say, bookmaking. Was completely different from now. So let's say I remember the first time when I entered the building, then she put me in a room and then said, here's a manuscript and make a book out of it. And there is a shelf with all the kind of type and information you need. And then she closed the door, went away, closed the door, and I was there with the manuscript and don't know where to start. And she of course, I was realizing after an hour she came in and said, and how is the book? I said, no, I'm sorry, but I don't know where to start. It's kind of, and then step by step, we did it more or less together. It was very nice. And she was really enthusiastic. So I make, let's say, more covers than books are published there. So she was always, oh, that book, we have to publish that book. We have to make a cover and a kind of, so she was really very enthusiastic. And it was for me also a place in contrast where I came from. So it's a kind of cultural place with a lot of artists are there and a kind of, we have every day lunch together and it's very, also politically kind of discussions, and it was a really interesting period for me. And there I learned, let's say, the difference between Times and Helvetica.
But what is design for you then, now, today? Because I think you change your perception of what is design.
I don't know if I changed so much my perception. Design is the result of a way of thinking. So, and that's for everyone different. So when you are, let's say, capitalistic oriented, then your design should also have a flavor from that. And I was never sympathizing with political parties, but I was left, let's say, a bit socialist oriented. Also, that publisher was really a socialist oriented company, and that's So that, let's say that the waardigheid, the human. Now I don't know the English word now. That people are equal. So that, let's say that not that it's not a hierarchy in people. Of course, there's a hierarchy to be, but not in what is waardigheid? I already dignity. Dignity. You understand dignity?
Yeah.
And so that every people are in principle. And later on, I got in contact with the socialist publisher in Nijmegen, and that was really Also a very nice experience. And the interesting thing from that was that they are from my generation. So people from the University of Nijmegen, they start their own published house, really Marxist oriented. And they had a kind of stencil machine, and later on an A4 press, and made their own pamphlets. And then in that time they got quite successful, and then they need, let's say, more professional treatment. So in the past it was all a typewriter, but also in the beginning when I was working for them, then we started with, we did a lot with the IBM composer, making books and all kinds of things.
In your books, sometimes the first impression is like there is a subjective order, a subjective way to look at things.
Yeah.
And I can see, I mean, a lot of Karl Martens in these books. So the question is, what do you try to create in your books, or also with your works? What do you create as a designer?
Yeah, a clear language in a way. So but also, so for me is also the public an important part. So design, let's say, a different component. So you have, let's say, a commissioner, a designer, executor, also important. So but also the public, and in general, especially this time, designers don't take care about the public. We are more busy with ourselves. So it's a kind of, I get the feeling, so that it's kind of working on a portfolio. Look me how. But for me, it's a balanced game between the topic and the way you like to express it. It's more a game, kind of, as I see it, kind of. And that's nice from design. So let's say when you are also make free work, then you are your own commissioner. But when you have, let's say, to do a cover for a book, then there is a content. And the nice thing to get the content from then analyzing the content gives already the answer for the solution in my. And what I said, so for me the public is so I don't like to have an arrogant behavior to the public, so that I take them serious. So there's also believe that they are at least that intelligent as I myself, so that I don't like to overestimate things, so that there is also something to discover. So not too much what you often see emphasizing. Look here, this. So let's say that the cover from the book is try to tell the whole story from the book inside, but that's not, in my opinion, what a cover needs. So it needs more a curious flavor, or kind of.
We said in the introduction that you work in different ways, with colors, with shapes, typography, printing techniques. So is there a process how you design your artworks, or like you follow your intuitions?
It's a mixture. So let's say I in that way I was lucky that I got in my career a lot of technical development. So I start, let's say, when I was with that lady, then I was working with the monotype system. So the letterpress, and that has its own laws, as a kind of, and then later on you got the offset technique, but in between by the publisher in Nijmegen, because he could not, typesetting was an important part of making books, and also on the price. So it's an expensive. Now you get it for free. I'm always wondering where is that money that we have to pay before to the typesetter. And so now the designers have to do it themselves, or the writer is doing himself already. But this typewriting was kind of an important money thing. So in that published house, there are a few girls are there, really nice ladies are, let's say, very handy with typewriting, and then on the EBM Composer, they made the typesetting, and then we glue it in on sheets, and then the photo camera took a photo of it, and then it goes on the offset plate. And later on, you got, let's say, photo typesetting. And now, as you know, it's all Macintosh computer. And in my time, when you are lucky, the printer had 3-4 typefaces, but then only in type size 8, 12, and 24, and then never the one you like. And now you have 250,000 different typefaces, even more, I believe. So it's endless. So that makes it also harder now for people to make. As you know, design is also making choices. So kind of. And restraints and limitation is an important part for in the game, I believe, in the process. So you have to limit the things. But now I lost what I would like to say.
Do you like this way that you have 5,000 typefaces, or you prefer?
Well, now I remember what I have to say. So now you have to make a choice. You can make a choice, and in my time there was not a choice. So but that forced you to be a little bit more inventive. So there are not so much things. Even I remember before I made a book in 4 colors. That was, let's say, after 10 years practice. And now each student on a high school already made several books in 4 color, even when it is done by a digital printer or kind of. So it is kind of. There are not so many ingredients and that keeps it already automatically in a kind of restraints. But now you can do everything, and that's what I see, that people get lost in choices. And also in influences. Then you see this and that. I discovered that with students a lot, so that you kind of. But yeah, for me it's not so different from normal life decisions you have to take. So from shall I buy me a car or not, or why should I buy me a car or what? And that's also by making design, and making prints for me is also kind of It's more that the answer is not there, that I'm doing it. So it's more trying, always trying, always. I discovered that the important, I believe, for everyone, but especially for designers, that all things what comes up in mind, that you have to do it to see what it is, even when it is a disaster. So it's a kind of. And when I say everything, it should be limited in human constraints. So it's not, let's say, that you can walk around with a gun, and that's of course not such a good thing. But that you, and yeah, I believe curiosity is an important guide. And so why is this? Why is it so? How can this? Even people take too many things for granted. The fact that we are talking now one-on-one. Even when the whole world is ill, and you cannot infect me, and I cannot in a healthy way, but and when I touch one button, then you are gone, and I'm in New York so it's whatever in China, or it is such a strange. We are not realizing how it goes so slowly higher and technical perfect that you are not take the moment to say what happens here, or how intriguing, and how can use it in another way. So it's kind of for my I believe curiosity is a very good guide.
You said that a designer should always try and make things to see if what he has in mind
Exactly.
works. And you do it always. I mean, like you experiment and you're still doing it. But do you think perfection exists in design?
Especially Italian design, perfection exists. Perfection is for me also a kind of mask. It hides, and design should reveal. And perfection is, let's say, make it so beautiful and shiny that you don't see the real. It's too so. But to act imperfection is an interesting thing. But to act imperfection, to create is also perfection. And so that's not. But there is an it's a Dutch word, and I don't know. It's hard to translate it in the English, and it is, let's say, gelijkwaardigheid. Yeah, what is it? Perhaps or better, beheersing. You can say that's when you translate it in English, control. But control is a negative word for me. So, but that's not what it means. It means, let's say, how far do you have to go? When you let's say when you are in a bar and drinking beer, then you have to stop in the right moment. So that tells that word. So that's one meaning. But the other meaning is heersen is also no. But anyway, for me, what I see that what for me is an important thing to stop in time and let it go, and then.
I think it's very interesting that at the beginning you said, with imperfection, you create perfection.
When you are creating imperfection, there is a very famous Dutch textile designer. Now, let's say, she makes also textiles, and she makes everything imperfect, and that's for me so horrible. So it's kind of, then it's imperfection. Then it's the same. When you are emphasizing that too much, then is the imperfection is the perfection.
Yeah.
So, but you should, hard to explain.
Yeah, but I think we was understandable.
Yeah, I hope so. Is that what you see and especially there's also a disease from the computer and that kind of thing, that you are able to make it so perfect. And so it's kind of resolutions from 600 dpi and that, let's say, a sample. So in the past in the Netherlands there was a radio reporter from VPRO, a very a nice broadcasting institution still in the Netherlands, and he was stuttering. This was the way he was speaking. Now then you can say, how can a radio reporter can do everything, but not speaking on the radio? But the way that he was speaking was so convincing, so that it was so meaningful that you get part of his thing, and that's what designers in general are overruling and making it more beautiful and a layer of beauty. And look me, I discover and so on and so on. And while when you hear a man in the street talking, then he is not. I compare also type as the human voice, so that people on one page are using 25 different typefaces. Why? That's not the way we are speaking. So, and when you see the language, the type as a representation of language, then it is the way we are speaking. But when you have to make a poster, then you have to cry. Then it should be bigger, or it should be. This is kind of. It is. In fact, it is. It's not so difficult, but.
Your works are everywhere in the world, and like your style is very recognizable. Instead, today, there's no more, we can say that there is no more like Swiss style, Dutch style, and
Yeah,
so
that's
on,
true.
because it's global design with
Yeah,
internet.
yeah.
What do you think about the impact of internet on design? Do you like it?
Yeah, for me, it's not so question from if I like it or not. It happens, so that's a reality. So it's a kind. So you have to deal with it. So it's also in the beginning when the letterpress was gone. Also designers and special book design. Oh, now our books are gone, and oh, the beauty from and talking about imperfections. Let's say what the nice thing was from a page in lead, that not one letter is the same, because by the imprint and now in offset, each letter is completely the same. So then there was a Dutch type designer. He makes a kind of system that letters are always not equal. But let's say, but that is more a nostalgic feeling from it. Should be like letterpress, but it is not. We don't live in a letterpress time. And when you like to idealize, then that's for me a kind of making kitsch, kind of try to. So it's so there is so much more possible. So by the new technology. So I remember when I'm from the generation I was doubting if I should go to the computer, and then I got a job in Maastricht in the Jan van Eyck Academy. And then I got a computer for free, so it was on my table a computer, but I don't know how to deal with it. So it's kind of, but I had a list from students. So I had a list with students, and then I called them. It was in the time Quark. Do you know Quark or not? No,
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
already. Okay. No, then I have a lot of mistakes and and then I had a list of all students with the telephone number, but I never could go all the time to the same. That let's say I call you, and then I say, oh, I have problems with how to do that, and then the students are teaching me, and then when after 5 minutes the same occurs, but I could not call him again. Then I go to another one. So the whole list and they are learning me how to deal with the computer. But now, before, let's say, things are limited. It's much more limited in technological way. And so also, when you are making a book, then and you have pictures in it, then the pictures go to a lithograph. And now you have to do it yourself, and it's a kind of you are able to change the colors in a 4-color image or whatever. So it's much more possible. So for me also, I'm using it also a lot for to make movement or whatever. So it's fascinating. But in the past, you are a printer. You had good printers and bad printers, but now these are all good printers, because the machine is so sophisticated that a wrong thing is not able. But that takes also a lot of charm away from. But again, then you get to act the charm is also. Yeah, for me, not so interesting thing. So it's how to deal with ingredients, but it's also given in. I'm from the modernist generation, in a way, and it was also kind of credo from do it with the things from your time. And so that's the modern time, and that's a little bit. And I still feel that's an okay There are a lot of not such nice things in the modernist approach, but there are also a few very, very good with a high value, and that is one of them, I believe. Again.
But today there are some designers that are going somehow back to
Yeah.
origins, like using letterpress, like we interviewed Anthony Burrill or Daffy Kune. Do you think there is a need to use hands in a different way, like was before?
That's for everyone different. So I'm also using. I like the smell from ink. You never get it from a printer, from a laser printer or whatever. So and the activity to print something, but the way I do it is very primitive. So it's kind of only a bookbinder's press. So it's kind of not so idealizing the past. I don't believe it's a good attitude. So it's all things. Distinction is an important thing in design. So you have to be slightly different than someone else, or kind of give it a kind of that's important part from design. But now I'm again lost in.
But did you try to be different, or is something that came naturally?
It's more. Is there a step? When you go a step further, what happens then? So don't stop too early. So it's kind of not make it more perfect, but yeah, I see behind your back a kind of gradient. But what happens when I use two colors, or what happens four colors, or what I do from here and mix it and kind of so doing. That's the way I do. So I have to see it, making also small maquettes from that I try to be a child. So I see. When I see my grandson work making with Lego, it is unbelievable. So it's a kind of in his mind, and it's completely following a kind of scenario in his mind. So kind of but I see also a lot of designers are making design, and that's the worst thing you can do.
You are the founder of one of the most coveted school in Europe, the Werkplatz Typografia.
Yeah.
So what do you think about education in design today?
Oh, that's for me it was always important. So design is for me not so important. So I believe it's better to have a general education, so that people from a certain age, let's say 18, 19, 20, so when they are to art, that they get the opportunity to explore their fantasy and then for me the labeling is also such a horrible thing. So graphic design, industrial design, but when you are in a group of people together, and you like to make a movie, or you like to make a dance, or kind of do things, so kind of together, then find your way, so that you in the end said, yeah, I don't like to be a book cover designer or a typographer or a type designer, but I like to, yeah, as I had in Yale, kind of with a gun making pictures, or let's say developing an that you are, let's say, exploring your energy, and that was for me also very helpful when I see young people. Some people say everything is done, but young people show me all the time that not everything is done. So there's all new approach, a new thing, and new and wow, how is it possible? So it kind of makes me jealous, kind of, but also it's motivating me also to still take part in making things.
Education means also to build, like you said, young generation and also in a way to face the future, because they will be the future in
Yeah,
design
yeah,
or art and so
yeah,
on. So
yeah.
what kind of role the designer or the artist will have in the future?
Yeah, that's also different for everyone. You can create your own label, as people are doing. It's a nice story from a student from in Yale. So I'm also teaching in the United States, and then I met a guy recently, and I was a querying guy. He was a bit strange student. And then I met him saying, "How are you doing?" He said, "Yeah, I have now my own label, a fashion label." They say, "How did you do that?" They say, "Now he was finished the school, and then he went to 2x4. There's a studio in New York, and then he has to do for Prada all the things." And then he suddenly got the feeling, "Hey, I also can do that. What Prada is doing, there's nothing special." So then he created his own label. And the nice thing is, so let's say, well, to put you in the market, so then you have the models and also, but he was also his own model. So the dresses he made, and in front of him, photos of him. And it was so lively and so spiritual. So that I said, yeah. And then, but he is educated as a graphic designer, but he's now a successful fashion designer. It's kind of so it makes no difference. So that everyone, when you get a farmer afterwards, and it's also okay. So it's a kind. I don't see so much difference between a good farmer and a good designer or a good. But my it get problematic for me when design are so idealized.
Yeah.
Design. So design also important. I've seen. So it's a kind of way of living. And what I discover in that time, I have to say, when I was working for the socialist publisher, that was in the time that, let's say, the left-right movement came up in the Netherlands, and especially in Nijmegen, in that city, the first crashes are there, the film. Movie theaters for experimental films and that kind of things. We had real the feeling that we are working on an ideal, so an other world, better world, so kind of, and that was also very motivated. Can I have a minute?
Yeah, sure.
So that we are, let's say, there was a kind of people from university, as intellectuals, theories about, and then you got all the books, and then you are surrounded by all kind of information in that, and that it motivates you. I remember that when I make a book cover, let's say 20 discussions, and then in general late in the bar somewhere in the city, and then no, why are you making that red? So there was really a kind of very motivation, and now it's the market is the leader.
You said that you don't like labels. Like, how then we should define you? A designer, an artist?
A human being, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
also for yourself and the students who development that you are already, when you are 18, have to say, I like to be a designer, so that you are not, even not knowing what it means. But when you are in surrounding, and that was also the nice thing from the Werkplaats Typografie, there was one building where students are together from all kinds of parts in the world. They got a lot teaching each other, so it's a kind of and I was the only 1 or 2 days a week, and then of course sometimes the feeling that it was only to offer the facilities, so that you believe in people, that you let in kind of protected area, so that this that you take care for that it can happen. That's a bit more than I cannot learn you how what you are thinking. So that's already you have to do it yourself. Everyone, but I saw Maru more that had more experience and know in technical way a little bit more, and so that you can also have questions. Why also why are you doing? Why not? Why this? And that's also that's of course the whole day. Why blue? Why red? Why green? Or perhaps orange? Can yellow?
Well, unfortunately, for two reasons, I mean, we arrived to the last question, to the 10th
Yeah,
and last question, and also because this question relates to this moment of this global pandemic.
yeah.
So today is getting worse and worse day by day, and my thoughts goes to all the victims of this invisible enemy. But the question is, do you think as designers or human being, as you said, can we do something like from the design world to help, or is
I
something
think
that
so.
we cannot do?
I think so. That's what I say. Design is a way of thinking, and so that you, when you are really interested to change the world, or to change the climate, and not saying it only, but also able. And now, for example, the Netherlands don't like to help Italy. That's a stupid thing. It's a kind of. And then he said, "From yeah, but we are very safe, and we did also our homework very well. And now in Italy, they didn't do their homework, and now we have to pay the Italian. But seeing that we have in one European Union that we help to each other. When you make a mistake, that you get that's such a horrible thing. So that's a kind of too primitive way of thinking, in my opinion. So it's a kind, and it's also it's a horrible thing also here in Amsterdam, and I also know people who are really affected by the corona. But the fact that we are speaking in this way, that it is possible, so that, let's say, it's also at the same moment now, the climate in Rome and in Amsterdam is much more ideal than 3 weeks ago. So because people are not traveling, the airport here is completely 2 flights a day or something like that. While otherwise, every second here I saw every second a plane. So that, let's say, the fact that we can talk to yesterday I had a meeting with the editorial board from Oase, and people have to come from Belgium, from Brussels. Now that takes 2 hours to get here, 2 hours back, then your whole day is gone. And now by such and you can talk together, and everyone is part of the, and it's time. It's saving time, and it's also saving the nature. And but when you are thinking, I don't believe that you have to. Although I never did, that you have to be in the front with the flag. But that in the moment when you can say, shall I do this? Shall I take a car on electricity or on? Then I believe it's better to. So it's in small things. The values in life are always in small things, and very slightly.
Well, Karel, thank you very much. I mean, your words were very inspiring for me, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to interview you. So,
It was a pleasure. Thank
thank
you.
you very much, and take care for
Yeah,
everything.
and good luck with everything. Yeah. Okay. Bye.